everyone. So today has a theme, which is, are you listening to the signs? The answer that I'm getting is yes and no. Yes and no, because I'm posing this as a channeled message, kind of compiled with like a general reading or just like general talking, because they're pulling me to me and something that I've been going through and relating it, where, okay, first of all, the message I'm getting for someone specific is you've done nothing wrong. You haven't done anything wrong. And this is separate from I just did a channeled message basically saying the same thing, but this is completely different. This has something to do with your past. This person, I would say that you are you either just came to my channel, like you came from the 𝘾𝙗𝙖𝙣𝙚𝙚 reading. You could be Indian, or you could just like 𝘾𝙗𝙗𝙗 or like Indian culture, or you just relate to her in some way of like the way that her life is kind of, you know, like sometimes she's relatable to you in some way. Okay, and I'm hearing this song. I'm gonna write it down so I don't forget. And this goes to you, person. So I'm gonna link it below. It's called Courageous, but they're pointing me towards the music video. They're telling me what has to do with the past has to do with your family. So the music video, and like there's something in there about it, and basically breaking generational habits, or the way like pain, or just like there's some sort of like mistakes or infliction, generational way of being that ends with you. And there's something that you did in the past, or like an example would be if you had a child and you kind of repeated some of those cycles, and now you have this feeling of regret towards it. And I'm hearing, because they brought attention to my necklace, and I'm hearing rare, because what you're doing is, which this says miracle on here, so it's miraculous in the way that it seems, because it's like so rare that someone would step out of this way of being or this tradition. It honestly, like, I don't even know if it's really a tradition. It really feels more just like, you know, like just how people are, and sometimes we perpetuate those cycles, and so it's very rare that someone could even branch out of something like this, or like just have that fortitude and awareness and dedication. Like there's something about it that's like you're doing differently, and you have this regret, or this feeling of regret, this guilt, or like a lack of forgiveness for yourself because of something that you did when you were younger, or just like, I mean, obviously because it's in the past, but the message, you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. This is all part of it. And then they're bringing me back to what I was originally going to say, which is like what they were pulling me towards with my vision, or not my vision, I'm sorry. It was a vision that came to me in the 𝘾𝙗𝙗𝙗 reading that related me back to something that was happening to me. And so they're bringing me back to what happened to me to share with you in greater detail. And then they're showing me talking to you, and they're showing me talking to you, and you're watching me, and there's things going on in the background. Either you're like cooking, or it just feels vast. Like there's stuff going on behind you. So if you're watching me on a phone and you're multitasking, or it's like you're sitting down, you're watching me, but then you're like watching me at work, or you're watching me, it feels like food or something. I don't know. It just feels like a kitchen is over there. It's like, oh, I have 20 minutes, so I'm just gonna watch. But in the back of your mind, you know that you have other things going on, and on top of that, you're also like critically thinking, which is a good thing. But in this moment, they're showing me how like this is a situation where you would have to like you've kind of come after the fact. You are aware that you weren't really listening as much as you should have, because you're like, oh, that was really important. Then you go back and you watch it, and then you have to keep doing it till you just kind of like give up. You're like, oh, well, it's somewhere in my subconscious, so that kind of thing. And they're saying like this is a sign that you need to not ignore the signs anymore and to really like pay attention, I guess. So hopefully that would resonate to kind of like call your attention again to who this person is that I'm referring to in this. But then they branch me out, and they're showing me me and how they're showing me like in a group of people watching a medium, and the medium is like picking up on everyone's passed away loved ones. And I'm thinking of how the connectedness of everything works. Is like if someone were to say something and it's totally their message, like this message is totally for you, and yet someone could be watching it and it's a sign for them because Spirit is using your example to relate to them. So there could be commonalities to kind of trigger like attention grabbing things, but then also that relatedness of our interconnectedness and our journey, like a frame of reference. And then they bring me back to me. So to emphasize on the 𝘾𝙗𝙖𝙣𝙚𝙚 reading, this is something that I was kind of resistant to even say in her reading, but I knew I had to say it because it was her message, because it referenced my family, and I have a strained relationship with my family. I don't like talking about them, and I don't like talking to them. Actually, I pretty much refuse to talk to them. If anyone, I talk to my dad, but I don't like to do it beyond just like almost like a clinical conversation, just cut and dry. That's it. I ignore everything else. So years ago, you'll see like with my story, I'm not perfect. I still resist the signs for me as well. I'm very hard-headed. I'm very stubborn when it comes to this kind of stuff sometimes, and I'm trying to work on not being that way, but let me read the card in case you're like wondering, because I am going on this and you're like, okay, that's great, I want to hear the story, but what's in the card? So your card says miracle. Dearest one, if all hope seems lost, let not hope slip away, for I, your guardian angel, am constantly by your side. Surrender all your concerns to me and trust in the healing power of love. Please believe that you are never alone. Together we shall work through each issue or situation which is of concern to you. All heals with the passing of time. Magic and miracles are about to manifest. So that's what you, that's a message for you. There are other messages that are coming through. it really feels like an infliction of pain, some sort of pain, like a mental or physical, not necessarily, I mean, I guess it could be, but it's more of like, you know, because physical relates to the emotional, so it's like an emotional pain that's been inflicted on one individual or other individuals that is a result of the infliction upon you. And then you feeling remorse or regret for that, when in fact it's okay, because it's like from the spiritual sense of things, it's like you there's no record of rights and wrongs, right? And so use this to propel you forward. Use this to propel you to healing yourself, to self-forgiveness, so that you don't hold yourself prisoner to your mistakes. Allow yourself to have that as your sentencing of that awareness, and don't repeat it. Move forward. You deserve to try again. You deserve to not imprison yourself to these limitations because of a mistake or mistakes that you've made in the past, if you've grown from it. And I don't see you choosing to, like, you're not that same person anymore. So release that chain, release those chains. Allow yourself to be free now. Don't keep carrying that with you. It's like transmuting it. Transmute that into something that's more a place of like wisdom, right? Don't allow that to I'm hearing like you're suffocating yourself. It's like you're suffocating yourself with this. Don't allow that to happen. We have happily ever after because it feels like you deserve that. You were entitled to that in spite of your past. And it's not to, like, that doesn't, it's like, it's not to absolve what you did. It's not to say it's okay of what you did, but you learned from it, you know? And I just see how this princess and her unicorn, and it's like a gnome, and it looks like he's guided her. So it's like your spirit guided, like your spirit guardian or your guardian angel, like they guided you, or like your intuitive sense, right? Like you guided yourself, like you progressed. And now that you see like this new opportunity or this new way of being or this new life, or like again like a second chance or whatever it is, it's kind of a perception of the second chance. It's like, do I really deserve this? Am I ready for this? Can I do this? Is it going to be okay? But you look so strange to be a princess and a unicorn in a cave. Like, obviously you should be out here in like this like what is this called? Not a fountain. Like a lake or a river, and like open fields. Like, you're obviously supposed to be out there, so everyone's just kind of waiting. It's like your team, your spiritual team, or like if your inner knowing, your inner feeling is like, what am I doing? Like, why am I holding myself back? You know, it just feels uncomfortable because it almost feels like you don't deserve it. Like you're kind of just telling yourself that, right? Because you're sensitive, you're caring, you're thoughtful, but you were carrying a lot of pain in the past. a lot of frustration in the past. Anger, there's like resentment, anger, frustration, like stuff like that, that was causing you to act out, that was just, it feels like deflecting, like fighting. It's like deflecting the pain, and then that resulted in like inner scratches. Like the more you were deflecting some sort of pain that was being inflicted on you, like protecting yourself, the more it was like cutting you up inside, and you had to release that, and then now you're breaking out of it. It's miraculous, it's rare, it's unusual for something like this to happen. It takes a lot of courage to do that, to break out of that, and also break out of your mind, to allow yourself to have your happily ever after. So to my story and how this kind of relates is because many years ago I kept getting these signs to tell someone some stuff that was going on in their life and all this stuff, and it was very strong. It took me over a year to tell them, and I still didn't tell them everything, and there was a part of me that like carried this regret, and like I knew, on one hand, I knew that I did everything the way that I was supposed to, but that feeling of resistance was causing me a lot of inner conflict, because it's almost like I let my ego, it is almost, because it was in divine timing, the way it's supposed to unfold, the way it worked out, but it was me letting my ego get ahead of me, of saying, I don't tell people, like, in my inner circle anything that I pick up on. Like, I try and just keep this boundary up. It's like, irregardless, like, then these spirits need to come through someone else. It doesn't need to come through me, because I don't want to do it. I just think that it's like, it's maybe like too biased. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think there's like an insecurity there, maybe. That's probably what it is. But I just don't like doing it unless it's like more lighthearted. Like, it's like lighthearted stuff. Like, oh, you know, you get what I'm saying. So, but if it's like super serious, or it's like someone who's crossed over that's coming through, I will literally send the energy somewhere else. Or I'll send it directly to them and be like, I'm not the one, I'm not gonna do it. So I guess that's more of back then, because I have changed. I guess I'm like, I say it as if I'm still that person, but I'm not, because I am actually more receptive, and I am more just kind of like allowing, like more going with it if I feel I should. If it's appropriate. Sometimes I do feel it's more appropriate to send the energy somewhere else, but I still am vocal about it and tell my friend or tell the person about what happened. Sometimes after the fact. So bringing it back to now, very recently I had signs coming in constantly. Just like how it was coming through for me is, it was just like basically how I do these readings. It just like comes in, it's not a thought, but it like comes in my mind. So I wasn't having any physical signs that were guiding me to communicate with my dad, and I didn't want to do it, so I was like refusing, and I ended up having a conversation with a very popular medium, very famous medium, and we were just talking, and it was like kind of out of nowhere, but kind of relevant to the conversation, but not really. And they started talking about my parents and how both sides are like spiritually gifted, and like to like look into my dad's. There's like information there that I should know. I don't even know. I honestly don't even remember the conversation because it just like sent me into a spiral. After the conversation, I left and I cried for like 2 or 3 hours because I was so upset that this information would not stop coming through to me. I was so upset because I just didn't want to deal with it. I don't want to talk to my parents. I don't want to talk to my dad. I don't want to think about the past. I don't like... There are parts of the past I don't like to think about. That's probably super unhealed, but it has to do with like spirituality and like the negative, the dark sides of it, and like how basically, and I think this is another message for someone out there, and it could be for you as well, but it could be another message, just like mediums, psychics, prophets, pastors, probably, like all these people or gurus, like we're still people, and we have the capacity to be a range of whatever kind of perceived imperfection that a human being could be. And there's also a very negative aspect, like you could be psychic, or you could be a medium, or whatever, a tarot reader, and yet have no moral code whatsoever. Or you can be someone who just refuses, like you could be I was gonna say hard-headed, but you could be hard-headed like me, or you could be hard-headed like, I was thinking like my dad, where he's just like, he's a troublemaker. He's a troublemaker, and he is also, like, cynical. So, and I don't know. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't, just because you have access to beyond what other people can see, it's like a skill. You could perceive it as a skill. It could be a natural skill, it could be a practice skill, it could be everything in between. Usually natural born, but then you, whatever. And so that that was so weird, because like that's obviously a message, but it brought me back to this psychic that I was talking to, and they went on this tangent about my family, and then they did the same thing where they zoned out, and then they were like, I don't know what I was talking about, I don't even know why I said that, and then they changed the subject. And that's kind of what's happening here. So anyway, so basically, oh, okay, so I was like crying or whatever, and I just gave in. I was like, fine, I'll say something. So I said a little bit to him. I texted him, basically, you know, you're spiritually enriched and gifted, and who are your family members? And he reached out, and he's like, you know, I'll tell you who they are. You know, he told me some people that he knew of, and then he was like, you know, I'll get their numbers and stuff. You know, we're talking. I was like, I don't need to talk to anybody. I just want to know who they are, and just tell me the dead ones, especially. So, whatever. But I kept getting this information, like signs, like messages in my mind, because this is how spirit communicates with me, oftentimes. And so they were basically telling me, like, you need to push this on him. Not necessarily like overbearing, but like you need to be serious. You need to like don't be so guarded, and like kind of rude. Just like tell him what this message is, and be sincere and be serious, and give him your undivided attention, because this is important. And it referenced to me because I eventually, which we'll get to, I eventually did, but it referenced me back to that point where it took me over a year to tell someone information, and so it was a frame of reference, right? And so sometimes you can perceive that as, in that moment in the past when I did something, it took me so long to unfold this information for someone that like I can hang on to that. What am I trying to say? I'm basically saying that when it comes to the way that Spirit communicates with us, and the fact that they communicate with us at all is in a way to propel us forward in our journey, in our path, and to bring a sense of comfort. And irregardless of whether you took the signs in the past or not, or if you perceive to ignore the signs, or you're still questioning something from the past, if it impacted you in any sort of kind of way, in a positive way, that really like brought you closer to self, you know, like through to spirit, it's through to closer to spirit, but closer to spirit is closer to self, and like self-mastery, and self-mastery gets you closer to enlightenment, and enlightenment closer to spirit, you know, and all that. So did that do that for you? It's kind of the theme that's going on here. So just basically what happened is I texted him, I told him, and I started crying again, and I was like, I don't want to do this. So I went on a drive, and on this drive I went through a forested area, and it's a bunch of pine trees, and there was a pine tree that was split right down the middle, and so there was a light shining, you know, the sun was shining right through onto the split log, and it was like butterscotch colored, so brilliant and bright. And sitting on the log was this fat black and white fox squirrel, which are semi-rare, and I took that as a sign, but I said to myself, you know, that's not enough. That's not enough. I don't want to deal with it. Like, I need something stronger. Like, I need something like undeniable to me. And so less than an hour later, it was probably like 30 minutes later, if that, and I saw a buck, a male deer. It had 12 points or more. It was very burly, and just, I've never seen anything more beautiful in my life. This buck was so gorgeous, and he was melanistic, so he's a black deer, black buck, and he was ombre, like it was like black, and then even his antlers were like so dark, and then it was ombre down his legs. And he walked on the side path of me, so I was driving down one path, and he stopped in the path, and he turned and looked at the car and stood there for a short moment, and then just kept walking on his path. And I looked it up online. They're super rare, and I counted like 7 or 8 deer that day. I was counting them when I saw them, and they were not dark. They were, you know, brownish, tan, whatever. And so that was a sign to me, like, I just need to deal with it. I just need to go ahead and tell him the messages that were coming through, and to like really emphasize it to him. And so I told him the messages that were coming through, and really took it seriously. And even during then, I still had like this little bit of resistance. Not gonna lie, it was like I still had resistance. So this was the next day, and there was a little bird that kept trying to come through the window, and every time I try and resist a message, or if it's a sign for someone else that they're resisting a message, not every time, but often, and the only time this ever happens is a bird will try and come into the house. They'll come through the window. They'll come to the window, keep tapping and tapping, and trying to look for a place to come into the window. And so there was this little wren, and it was trying to come into the window, trying to come in, and I even opened the blinds to look, and it got scared and flew away. And then it kept coming back, and it went to three or four different windows that are all on the side of the house that I was on while I was texting my dad. So it was a sign, it was a multiple signs for me that I was resisting, and then he was resisting the information. He didn't want to take it seriously. But I feel comforted because I actually delivered the message. I listened to Spirit. I'm following through. I'm not being so combative. But I see that as, and then I saw that when I was doing the 𝘛𝑐𝑗 reading, there was a bird that was trying to come through the window, and she's resisting signs. And so I see how that relates, where there's a resistance to it. And I think this is I don't know if this is part of your message, but I see this as a separate message for someone else. Like a clear separate message for someone, where if you have a passed away loved one, it feels like a young energy. Well, I'm seeing like several people, and they feel unrelated, so there must be several people who are watching who are looking for someone who has passed away, because I'm seeing like an older woman. It feels kind of like a sage green outfit, or like she feels sage green. I'm not sure why. Just like shorter hair. I think she kind of like reminds me, not kind of, like I think I'm pretty sure she's the same one that came through on a candle wax reading. And then I see someone that's like a younger male energy, like almost like just a young guy, boy. And so basically, like you're getting signs, right? Like maybe you're going to mediums, where you're looking at videos that are like, what does my passed away loved one have to say to me, or something like that. You know, like different kinds of like you're looking for it, but you're already getting the signs delivered to you in real life, right? Like maybe maybe you have a bird that's coming to your window or whatever, or maybe you're hearing it, right? Which I'm gonna get to in a minute, but okay, they're telling me to talk about it now because it connects everything together in some kind of way, where basically like you see the process of the way that the information was coming to me, and that's how they talk to me in all kinds of different ways, and they do that with you as well. They do that with everyone as well. They're constantly communicating with us if we see the signs, if we pay attention to the signs, if we pay attention to the way that it's being communicated to us, to assist us on our path, assist us with comfort, assist us with living a healthier and happier, more fulfilled life that can be healed. To know that there is something beyond this, to know that there's more than just kind of like the grumminess of life. Like I think a lot of stuff's like kind of grummy, or grimy. Another word. You know, it's like it's not important. It's not important. What's important is to love everyone, love one another, and love yourself. And you can feel more empowered in that. Like it's very empowering to be in love with life, in love with everyone. So that's basically like why they come through, right? Is to assist us on our path towards love, self-love, and all of that. And also to, as a reminder, like we're here, because we love you, you know, or we see that you're suffering, or and you need assistance and healing or whatever. It's like, we're here. And so basically, if you're not listening to the language that you're hearing, you're not listening to your intuition, your inner thoughts, and how you can discern, I mean, you have to have critical thinking when it comes to that, right? Like, sometimes a dream is just a dream, sometimes a thought is just a thought, but does it bring you comfort? Does it bring you to a place of more peace? It shouldn't bring you stress. It shouldn't bring you towards something that's like negative. It should not have something negative attached to it. It shouldn't be like evil, you know, or like tell you to do bad. But like, that's obviously like either a mental disorder or it's something you shouldn't be doing, you know, that kind of thing. So you have to like practice discernment, and you have to have critical thought when it comes to it. But if you're not someone who is able to pick up on that, and you know, some people just aren't, that's not your path, that's just the way it is, and every once in a while, like, yeah, you'll get signs, but if you don't think that way or you don't want to, like, you know, it varies. It's like very different for everyone, obviously. Then it can come through in a physical world, you know, with like a bird feather or a dream or whatever kind of like thing happening in the material world. And they also can come through receptive people. So whether it's a medium, whether it's a psychic, whether it's a tarot reader, whether it's just someone in the passing who is receptive in that moment to deliver a message to you, to help you better navigate your life and to better understand what the message is, which is ultimately to bring peace and comfort. As I pound my fist. I hope that wasn't too scattered. I kind of feel like it, I guess it wasn't, but there's just a lot of information coming through. So someone out there, I knew, there it is, rite of passage, crossing the threshold, initiation, and it says your guidance is divinely guided. Share your voice, come out of the cave, persecution, expression. And this is correlating to a separate message for someone out here. Separate but different because of how this relates to this person who, the 𝘾𝙗𝙖𝙣𝙣𝙚 person, okay? And how I was saying how things can relate to you in certain ways, and however which way. Someone out there, how this relates is because there's something in your past, and this relates back to what I shared too, of where you refrained from saying something. You refrain from listening to the signs or passing the message along. And I want to emphasize with that too, that even though, that's what I was trying to emphasize, but I don't know if I said so. Hopefully I'm not repeating myself too much, but basically that's a frame of reference, right? So in order for me to be as empowered and impactful as I was with delivering a message to my father that I needed to deliver in a timely manner, I had to have had that experience in the past with another person of that struggle and the resistance that in this time in between where I've grown with communicating the messages from spirit and what have you, that has propelled me into the position that I was in order to accurately do that. You get what I'm saying? And so what I'm seeing here is someone holding themselves back from saying something. It's something close to your heart. This could be a romantic partnership. It's like you feel guided to tell someone how you truly feel, like it's like a confession. or it's just like you expressing yourself. It feels like you having this deep, I feel it in my heart, it's like so intense and so deep. It's something very close to your heart that you feel that you need to say. You need to say it. And it's like I've waited so long to say this that it almost feels too late. It's like where I've so long to, it's saying something, but you're holding you're holding yourself back from your happily ever after, because it's going to release you from, I don't know, it's going to free up your mind, it's going to free up your, it's like it cuts the cycle. When you finally speak out, it cuts the cycle. And whether you're speaking to someone or speaking out about something, it's going to be well received, in the sense that it's going to bring you closer to your happily ever after. I don't know if this person, like if you're confessing to someone, if they receive it, it's like whatever your dream is, like you're going to get it. You're going to get it if you just be courageous enough to speak out. And it's like that's your cycle that you're breaking. That's what you need to break. Is I heard ancient belief system. So I honestly, like, what this really actually pulls me towards is love. Like, you have feelings for someone and you believe that it's like something magnificent and you want to tell them. I just saw 133, 163, and 1144. So whoever that's for, that this relates to, I would look into those numbers, or maybe that's, I mean, it could be the time, but then that would just be synchronicity. I would look into whatever Google says that those mean. Okay, and so we have forgiveness. This is a main message. This is the biggest theme for everybody who's watching. To forgive yourself. You didn't do anything wrong. So it says, holding on to the past. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me start over. Holding on to a past hurt is preventing you from moving forward and achieving your heart's desires. Let it go. Forgiveness does not mean that you condone another's actions. It simply means that you are no longer willing to be a perpetual victim to a particular person or event. Blame is a waste of your precious energy. Bless and surrender the past, for in doing so you will reclaim the joy of life. Because you're achieving, it's going to help you achieve more balance in your life. Like the scales are being tipped from this place of almost like self-destruction, because you are hanging on to it and releasing it, and then this abundance, this miraculous, beautiful, happily ever after, like all of this joyful abundance is here and is going to tip it back. Okay. Let's go in order that I got it. Okay. Star. Believe in yourself. You are a wonder of creation. Wash away all fear and discover you are a shining star. Allow all around you to just be. Let go of trying to control life, for the light of your soul will guide you always towards love. Remember, stars are born through explosions of love. Love illuminates all things. Never forget you are truly a shining star. Intuition. Trust your intuition and know that what seems logical may not necessarily be right. The answer to your question lies inside your heart. Endless possibilities exist for you. Stop trying to work it all out and feel your way through. We, your angels, will guide you. Trust your feelings. What feels right is right. Full stop. This goes back to what I was saying, and I don't know, I missed the message, I guess. I forgot to say it. So when I was talking about these people who passed away, and you're like going and talking to other people, like mediums or whatever, you're looking up things online, or you're like looking at every single thing and evaluate, is that a sign, is that a sign, is that a sign? You're already receiving the messages. You're looking for double, triple, quadruple confirmation that what you already inherently know is a sign. And so oftentimes it will convolute the message in the sense that you're starting to look at things, you're losing touch with your intuition when you do that, when you're constantly second guessing yourself and constantly looking for confirmation from other people or other things, when you know in your heart you don't have to do that. And so it's like, if the example that I was getting is, if you were to go to a medium and then they tell you something that isn't resonating, in the sense that like you're asking about someone or you're hoping to hear from someone, and then someone else comes through for you and you're like, okay, that's fine, but I want to hear from this person. Well, you're already receiving messages from this person and you're already getting that direct link. And so maybe this spirit, that you're wanting to connect with is basically saying, like, I need you to connect with me on a more intimate level. I don't want the loop around of someone confirming this for you when you already know. And it's important for your own growth or your healing or your spiritual path to really reaffirm that inside of you, that you know that they're coming through for you, that you know that you've received these signs, that you know in your heart and in your inner being, your everything, that's true. Yeah. You know that. Yeah. Exactly. It's the one I was just looking at is the rite of passage one that I already showed you or already talked about. And I just see you going through, like you actually passing through. So instead of you being on the outside, I see you walking through and you accepting that and knowing that and feeling that and no longer like resisting that feeling. Like you're allowing that comfort to come in. You're allowing that information to come through, that to flow through. And it even says you're already doing it. Stop overthinking. Keep facing your true north. You're already communicating with them. You already know they're here for you. And self-criticism. We, your angels, ask you to please be more compassionate towards yourself. Observe the times when you have critical thoughts about you and make an effort to replace these negative thoughts with positive, loving ones. You are a wondrous being of light, even if at times you think you are less than perfect. Remember that God and divine perfection exists in all things. And this goes for everyone. I think this goes for the people who are looking for someone who's crossed over. It's like, you don't have to be so hard on yourself and think, is there something wrong with me that they don't want to come through? And why can't I just pick up this information? What's going on? I wish I would have said something different in the moments that they were still here in my life. Like, it's like all these ruminating thoughts. But the main takeaway is that beyond the limitations of our human existence, right? Like our human emotions, our human thoughts, and the way that we can even perceive things and even express things. There is love. There is just like, it transcends human emotion, and ultimately they forgive you. They love you. Ultimately they understand, because they see things from a different perspective than we do. And they're beyond just the identity that you even know them as in this life. And so, and you are too. And so it's okay. It's okay. And you are hearing their messages. You are picking up on it. But sometimes you need that space to be able to have that message from the past be as impactful for you in the present. I've never had a situation where I have seen that a sign ignored is a sign like taken for granted, or a sign that like ended up negative, that you ignored it. There's always something deeper to that. And I think, obviously like we have free will and so on and so forth, but when it comes to beyond free will, like into the spirit realm, and that's exactly what they're doing, is the spirit is coming into this reality. I would put that in line of destiny. It's like your reaction or action is in par with destiny, because it's what they are bringing in is much more powerful than what our free will even gives us the ability to do. If that makes sense. And then I see with that's one message, and I see with the self-criticism for the other message of someone who has this inner desire to express yourself in some way, say something to someone, deliver some message to another person, that you have to let that go of being overly critical with yourself, or being sorry, I'll show you the card in a minute. It's a word that starts with a C, but I can't think of what it is. It's anxiety, but like, I'm not sure what I'm hearing. Anyway, just look for a sign, right? Just look for a sign. You can ask for a sign. And maybe this is what it is. It says, ask for a sign. It has a little butterfly. So this is your sign, people. This is your sign. You're asking for a sign. Okay, well, you got it. You got it right now. And then we have expression at the bottom of the deck. And so I'm going to end this here, because it's the same thing just coming through. As I say that, I'm pulling more cards. Let me just pull a couple more cards. Let me look at the bottom of the deck. Hold on. It says, clear sentience. Notice your reoccurring physical and emotional feelings as they signify divine guidance. So it's just circling back to tell us everything that we've been talking about here. So I mean, this is just like, it's so beautiful. I'm just so happy. It's so beautiful because it's just so true. So we have clear cognizance. Pay attention to your thoughts and ideas that come to you as they are answered prayers. And then I'm just gonna briefly go over this really quick. So prosperity, divine order, spread your wings, career transition. Now this doesn't necessarily have to mean career transition. I really think it's more of a transition from how you were to who you're allowing yourself to be, if It's not who you're becoming, because you're still that person. You just kind of have a lot of like blocks that are self-imposed blocks. From a sincere place. I think it's very sincere of why you felt that you had to put these blocks up. It comes from a genuine place, a sincere place, and so you are allowing yourself to spread your wings, and it is in proper and divine timing. Don't allow yourself to, again, like, hold yourself back, even in any thought. Just let it rush off of you. Water off a duck's back. Just let it off of you. Wash away. Here's the balancing scales. Is becoming better and balanced, and the prosperity is, I see this prosperous amount of signs. It's like it's like your world is expanding and really identifying what it is that you have been looking for, because it's been here all along. That information has been here all along. They've been communicating with you all along. And you were meant to resist. You were meant to resist up until the time that you decide that you don't want to resist anymore. I do believe that. It's too, you know, it's too powerful. It's too powerful. What's too powerful is like I was saying, is like the divine realm, not anything else. Divine realm is doing that. So we have moon cycles and take back your power. What I see is it's repeat, because I have let go right here, and letting go to me is all encompassing. So this is just to summarize for everybody here, is when you let go of something, sometimes you're letting go of that resistance. Sometimes you let go of this information. You let go of your projects. You let go, like you release it, right? Letting go, you release it out into the cosmos or what have you. You don't prevent yourself from honoring your truth. And I think in some ways, to some capacity, that is dishonoring your truth when you deny or you reject, when intuitively you know that that's not the case. And again, that's totally okay. It was meant to happen this way in order for you to have that key point in life that you can reference back, so that when you're in a more appropriate time to act more swiftly, or like however this progresses you, you're gonna understand it in hindsight. And I think a lot of times that is how you would know if you question things from the past, like a dream or the way the clouds look or whatever. Is that a sign? If you're still thinking about it, if in reflection, in deep reflection, you feel that it has brought you peace, it has brought you comfort, it has brought you closer onto your spiritual path, it's more than likely a sign. It's more than likely, and they communicate to you in a unique way to you in order to grab your attention. But I see this as I'm seeing this as you being it's like you working with spirit. It's like you're the ocean and spirit is the moon. And you know how the tides are affected by the moon cycles. And so prior to this, it's like if the ocean could try and resist. It's like if you personify yourself as the ocean, it's like the tide always comes and goes in the nature of the moon, but the ocean refused to acknowledge that was happening. And so now the ocean feels more at peace. It's like instead of looking at the ocean as being angry and treacherous with the high tides, it actually looks more peaceful and calming and healing and beautiful, and like opportunity to like create little pockets of estuaries for the birds and nature to feast on. You know, it's like changing your perception by allowing yourself to accept what is actually happening, and that's by connecting yourself with the messages of spirit. So that's what I see, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.